Welcome to Tea with Mike, episode number 12. So we're just going to jump right into the episode, get to know a little bit about Jest. So Jest, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Last time, actually, you forgot to ask me about the tea, so I've been drinking tea all day, getting ready for this moment, Mike. My favorite tea, because I know it's a question you ask everybody, is green tea. And I'm a little odd because I put ice in my tea and I like to drink it cold. I don't like things hot.
That's okay. Can you tell us a little bit about your marketing background?
Everyone joining, sorry, we had some technical difficulties. I'm in the basement, so it's a little echoey, and the internet's not as strong down here, but got a baby asleep upstairs, so I'm going to continue to talk down here, and we'll just continue to talk through the echoes. So if it gets bad, we apologize. My name is Jest Sidlowski. I'm the Director of Marketing for a company called PV Mart in Western Canada and TSC stores in Ontario. So I'm passionate about branding and marketing. And as Mike mentioned, I'm passionate about traveling the world as well.
So why is marketing and branding important in 2019?
There's so much competition in the world today, Mike. As you know, there's things like Amazon and Uber, and there's these disruptors out in the world that are kind of changing the way that businesses act and businesses operate. So traditional businesses, especially businesses like ours, good marketing and solid branding, there's nothing more important than it. And it's doing things differently. It's not just a logo on a billboard or in a newspaper. It's being authentic with your brand and having a personal voice behind your brand in everything you do. And we're finding that that's what customers want to see in 2019. That's the difference between marketing and a company today. There's not much as important as good marketing.
So how important is creativity when it comes to marketing and branding?
Creativity is extremely important, but as I mentioned earlier, for those that weren't on the earlier one, you don't have to be creative as long as you're in a team of creatives. So you don't actually have to have the vision yourself. As long as people in marketing really understand the concept, there's other people that can be the creatives. You can learn from those people. You can share those ideas and those passions. So just allowing yourself to absorb what other people are around you are telling you. So I think as a marketer, we all agree that being creative is better. Marketers are typically creative people. That's just what drives us. That's how we're a little different. But as long as you surround yourself with creative people, you will be fueled by that.
Would you say that marketers need to be strategic?
Yeah, strategic is important. You have to know your demographics. You have to know who you're trying to reach. One size fits all does not work in the world of marketing. And that means you can't just brand the same way to everybody anymore. That has changed significantly. You have to have a different voice for each consumer segment out there. And you have to find ways to deliver that voice through different platforms like social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and even within those platforms, Mike, it is so very different. So you have to find out who your consumer is, what they expect to know of your brand, and you have to brand it differently through all those platforms.
So obviously, social media is an important tool when it comes to marketing, but there's also other tools out there. Could you elaborate on that for me?
I mean, the industry is changing so much. 10 years ago, it would have been newspaper and paper flyers and billboards and radio. And then it kind of shifted where everybody was going to social media, very heavily on social media. But I got to tell you, it's not just about social media. Social media is fantastic, and there's a reach like we've never seen before in the world of marketing. But you have to have eggs in baskets all over the place. You can't just put all your eggs in one basket, because social media is not going to connect you to audiences or customers that are still using traditional platforms. So I believe radio, newsprint, paper print, social media, and the world of video is extremely important. So it's just making sure that you kind of understand, again, who you're looking to reach, tailor your messaging to that audience, and then choose which platform works with each audience.
So what are some of the challenges that you face in marketing?
It evolves so fast, so you have to be very quick. I'm different than a lot of marketers. There's marketers out there that will plan their whole month, and they'll plan their year and what they want to say and what they want to do. Of course, there's planning for business, and that just makes sense. But when it comes to your actual social media posting and your customer engagements, I don't like planning. I like to be, the minute something happens, I like to be able to react. So I think marketers have to be way more flexible in 2019 than they ever have been. You have to be able to react within hours, not days, not weeks. You have to react to your competition within hours. You have to react to the consumers within hours, and customers now are telling us exactly what they want in seconds, and they expect a response in seconds. So as marketers, we have to be 24/7 versus 5-10 years ago. You could shut off and you could let it go till the next day, but we can no longer do that.
How important is it to respond to every customer comment?
Can you repeat that?
How important is it to respond to every customer comment?
There's nothing more important than that. There's so many businesses out there that will hide the bad comments or they'll delete them. I am 100% against that. I feel like you have to own your mistakes publicly. You have to own what that customer is saying, and you have to prove to every other customer watching that you give a damn and that you actually care. So for about 4 or 5 years now, it's been a mission of mine to leave every single comment ever made about us online, and we respond to that customer as we would any other customer. And 99.9% of the times we can fix the situation. And what that shows to every other customer out there is that you really care about your brand and you really care about your customers, no matter what they say about you.
Nice. Is it just you that responds to customer comments or others as well?
We've got a team of people. When you're a company of our size, of course, you have a team of people looking after your customers. And between TSC and PV Mart brands, we have around 9 employees who are constantly looking for customer comments and answering feedback. Interestingly enough, Mike, for our brand, we have a very loyal customer base, unlike a lot of other companies. And for every 500 positive comments we get, we might get one negative comment. And that is 100. That is 100% fine with us. We're not used to negative comments. We really like that.
Interesting. That wasn't the answer that I was expecting to hear.
Yeah, we're unique. We are. If you go to one of our posts, you will have hundreds of customers on there saying that they love our brand, they love what we do. They're excited that we're in the community. They're excited for what we do. We hardly ever get negative reviews online.
Why do you think that is?
We've been around since 1967 in Western Canada, and we have almost this cult following of people that love our brand. We've supported communities that we've been in since the 60s. We give back in big ways. We are a massive sponsor to many, many events. We sponsor grassroots events. We help other small companies succeed. And I think people remember stories like that. Almost everybody can remember a trip to PV Mart with their parents if you're a rural Albertan or Saskatchewanite. Everybody has those stories, and people still connect to the brand, and people are still happy we're in their communities.
Nice. So in your bio, you mentioned world traveling. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So I moved to England when I was 17 years old, and I worked for the British Heart Foundation. And I was only there for a little bit. I didn't stay for a very long time. But that kind of kicked off my passion for world travel. And I was very vulnerable and very nervous. And I didn't see myself as a traveler at that time. But I'm glad I did it because I took a chance, and I was, I was lost and alone in the world for the first time ever, and it was awkward feeling. But now I almost crave that sense of adventure, and I try to travel the world as much as possible. So I think I've now been to I don't want to say it wrong, but I think I've been to 12 or 13 countries now.
Interesting. Do you think you can name them all?
Let's try Belgium, France, Spain, the United Kingdom, Canada, of course, the United States, Mexico, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, um, El Salvador, Honduras. I'm at 11. Japan, India, and Nepal. So I think that's 14 actually.
Nice. So, which parts of the countries have you liked? Is it been to do with their culture, or has it been to do with something else?
100% experiencing new cultures. I love new cultures, and I love. Sorry, I got a comment that that lighting's not good. New cultures is fantastic. I love immersing myself in the world and being a part of other countries and what they do. And I got to go to India with people that are originally from India, and they took me into small villages and up in the mountains. And I was a part of just something so amazing that I never thought I'd get to experience. And I could do that for the rest of my life. And I believe that everybody should want to travel. And I believe everybody would be better for it. Understanding other cultures and understanding other people and not being afraid of the unknown is something really remarkable and quite beautiful.
I'm sure you've met some interesting people on your travels.
I've met a lot of interesting people. The one thing with the world is people are inherently good no matter where you go, no matter what culture, no matter what religion, and no matter what country. People are decent no matter where you go, and people will take you in, and people will help you, and people want to get to know you. And that's the great part of the world.
So, you go traveling quite a lot. You must be really good at saving money.
Um, yeah, so I'm a thrifty traveler. I travel a lot, but I use a lot of points. We look for flight deals when we're local. We make our own food. We don't go to resorts like a lot of people. We will go to small villages where we can afford a lot more for our money. So we're just um, really good at immersing ourselves in the local culture to be able to save a lot of money when we travel.
So interesting. You've been to more countries than most people. Did you have any? Have you met any interesting people along the way?
Oh, somebody's told me. Not necessarily. I was in a car ride with somebody from Toronto the other day, and they were telling me a travel story, but I was telling them one of mine first, and we kind of had a good laugh about it. When I was in India, I was very sick. I got really bad illness from street food, and we were on our way to the Nepal border, and I got a very bad bug where I was. We actually got to the Nepal border, and I was throwing up outside where the security guards were with their guns, and I was puking because I was so sick from the food. I think I lost 10 pounds in a matter of 3 days. I was laying down in the back of a van, and it was just the worst 2 days of my entire life. I started feeling better, and we were heading from the Taj Mahal to a city called Jaipur. Jaipur is the pink city. Everything is built out of pink rock. It's quite beautiful. And we were on our way there, and the sun had just gone down. I was laying in the back of the van, still not feeling very well. I don't believe I was wearing a seatbelt because there might not have been a seatbelt in this vehicle. And we hit a cow, and we totaled our car in India, and we hit a sacred cow, and we happened to be in a Hindu community where the entire community came out. No word of a lie, people had pitchforks. The police were called. The whole town came out to the highway, and it was almost a mob effect. And I kind of stood away in the distance a little bit because I didn't want to be a part of it. I didn't really know what to do. The van was not drivable at that time. long story short, we got to the city, and the next day I flew out of India to Japan. The people I was with were worried about my safety as we had hit a holy cow in a Hindu town. So that is the most insane story I think that I can tell. So if you have a better one, I would love to hear it.
Yeah, I've been to lots of countries, but I don't think I can match that one.
Yeah, it was quite remarkable, and it's a story I'll never forget.
How many countries are on your bucket list?
We're going to go to the Scandinavian countries next year. So we're going to go up to Finland, Sweden. We're going to finish our trip over in Russia. And then hopefully in a few years, we're going to go to Namibia in Africa. So those are my next international trips.
Nice. Do you try and go somewhere new every year?
We don't go to the same country twice. The world's a big place. There's a lot to explore. Um, if I was to pick a country to go to twice, it would be Nicaragua. That was by far my favorite trip so far. But as a rule in our family, we try to do a different country every year. How's your tea, Mike? I don't think you ever talk about your tea that you're drinking.
My favorite tea is English breakfast tea.
Is that your favorite or what?
Yes, it's a strong black tea.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So I got to ask you, um, we're talking about marketing here today, and really what you're doing is good marketing. And you did grassroots marketing where you connected on Twitter and you followed a lot of people in the community, and you kind of really built a name for your little talk show here. So can you tell me the story behind Tea with Mike?
So I created Tea with Mike 2 months ago. And the reason why I created Tea with Mike was because I feel that in a world full of digital and technology, we've lost some of those soft skills like face-to-face interaction, how to communicate with others, and the ability to network. And I just really wanted to remind people why those skills exist and why they're so important to the world, and also the opportunity to just have a conversation with no pressure. So Tea with Mike was an idea that just came to me, and I'm just trying to grow it step by step.
On, man. I am very excited to hear that. Good for you. And it's been fun so far.
Yes, it has been lots of fun so far. Lots of diverse guests on Tea with Mike. Yeah, so we've had lots of cool guests on the show so far. Coming up, we've got some super interesting ones too. Real focus on the community. And we got Jonathan Strome from Simber and Bow Ponds coming on the show. We've also got Danielle Kuster, who's an entrepreneur from Danico Consulting. And we also have Joe and Joe's social media.
Very cool. Yeah, well, you should be proud of yourself, Mike. I think that that's pretty cool, and I like the reason behind what you're doing. And I was really happy that you asked me to talk with you today. It's I think that I remember you started following me a few years ago on Twitter, and Twitter is such a powerful tool when it comes to marketing and business, and especially if you're a student and you want to kind of connect with all of those people at once. It's a super cool tool to do that.
I'm originally from England.
Did you live in England?
So where did I live in England? I lived in northern England, so closer to Scotland and London, in a town called Richmond. Lived in a town called Richmond, lots of history and castles.
That's really cool.
Was there ever a time where you got lost on your travels?
Oh, we get lost all the time. That's half the fun of being on a trip somewhere, Mike, is getting lost and not really caring that you're lost. So I actually like the days where we get in a car. I usually rent a car. and we just drive and we go to little villages. And getting lost is a lot of fun. So I don't think that there's a story where we were lost and didn't know what to do per se, but just day trip lost, and that's always really cool. You discover the best hole in the walls in Honduras. We went to the little island called Roatan, and it's a very small island. It's about, I think, don't quote me on this, but I think it's about 32 kilometers long. So very, very small. And then half the roads in the island turn from pavement to sand. And at the other end of the island, where no tourists go, there's a water taxi you have to take, and you go through marsh wetlands. And then there's this really cool bar and restaurant on the other side of the water. And the restaurant is on a boat, and the boat is falling apart. And the owner is there, and he was drinking all day long. And it was one of the coolest experiences I've had anywhere, and it was a really cool story to tell. Where I go, and by far the craziest, of course, is India. There's nothing like it in this world. But most of the time in India, people were driving me. I rented a car when we were in Spain, and we drove from Spain. We drove from Barcelona over to Montpellier in southern France. And there's a mountain range there, and we had a little Fiat 500 stick shift manual transmission car, which I happen to love driving. And we got torrential rain in the mountains driving a Fiat 500. And let me tell you, that was a freaky experience.
Does it not scare you driving in other countries?
Well, I mean, it all really ties into one. Yeah, like you said, you're going to be interviewing Jonathan Strome from his organization, and the Joe's here soon. And there's not a lot of better people to talk to in that industry that really know what they're doing. And those are really good people to shadow and just watch what they're doing, because they're always willing to share and they're always willing to help. And I think that that's really cool, that that's what you want to do.
So yeah, it was actually Jonathan Strome in a guest lecture that inspired me to follow my dreams. His guest speech was really like intriguing, and it definitely flipped on a light switch in my head, which is super cool. So yeah, that's kind of how it all started.
Told Jonathan that. That's great. Jonathan is anything but boring. He is a fantastic individual. He's bright. He's brilliant. And his ideas work really well. So that's a pretty cool story. I hope one day somebody says that about me.
And what a great way to end Tea with Mike, episode number 12. This was Jest, head of marketing at PV Industries. He shared some super intriguing travel stories with us today. We talked a little bit about marketing and a little bit about my personal journey and where I'm hoping to end up. Thank you guys once again for bearing with us during some technical difficulties. Your support means the world.